Start recording. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday Notary Titans for Tuesday, April 14th, 2020. My name is Bill Soroka. I'm the founder of notarycoach.com and the Sign and Thrive Notary Training Course and Community. And our co-hosts are Mrs. Carol Ray. Carol Ray is founder of Notary 2 Pro. And of course, we have Laura Biewer, founder of CoachMeLaura.com. Laura, are you here? Is your mic working yet? It's not. Nope. My lip reading is really bad right now.
Technology.
I love it. Well, Carol, while she gets her technology piece worked out, let's talk about what you're excited about this week.
Well, I'm excited that we're getting closer to that transition from everybody staying into their homes, where this is all going to kind of release. Every day that goes by, we get closer to it. They're talking now about there being where it comes to the peak of it. What do you call that? And then, so I'm looking forward to that. But I do have students that are doing work now. A lot of people are not doing work, and it's hurting a lot of people. So I hope that's coming sooner than later.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah. Laura, you want to take another shot at it?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes. There we go.
Okay.
Perfect. Just in time. What are you excited about this week?
Lots to be excited about. I'm excited that tomorrow is my first e-meetup. Tomorrow, the 15th is my first e-meetup. We're going to talk about trust in particular, and there's 4 scheduled so far. Each one has a little bit different topic, and they're not NSA. It's really for people who are interested in talking about the work outside of loan signings. So if that's your interest, 9 a.m. California time, the emails have been sent and links are out there. You can join us. If you need the link, it's notarycoach.com/Notary Lite, L-I-T-E.
And it's in the chat box for you.
And it's in the chat box for you. So I'm excited about that because not only will I have my regulars that actually I meet with normally in Modesto, but this opened it up for people who could never otherwise participate with me. And so if you don't go to meetups, this is a chance for you because I'm going to follow a similar agenda. So I'm very excited about that. I'm excited that I'm practicing with my e-seal. So kind of getting things ready for that. And for those of you who are like, not doing it yet in my state, so what should I be doing? You should do whatever it is you can do. If you're allowed to have an e-seal, get it. If you're in California, you have to get a certificate of authorization. That could be 2 or 3 weeks because you got to write a letter, you got to send it, you got to wait till you get it back. And, that could be 2 or 3 weeks of your time, and you could have one step done so that if something comes our way, whatever state you're in, you're more prepared. So I'm past that step, and I've got my e-seal, and I'm just practicing, not with Ron software because I don't want to pay them anything right now. I'm just using some Adobe Pro and messing around with how to affix my seal and e-signature. So I'm excited about that process as well. And
Fantastic.
I guess that's what I'm excited about this week. And I'm excited my puppy is doing well. She had surgery last week, and she had her ACL was blown in her back leg. And so they had to do a knee surgery where they put in she's got like an artificial knee. So my Chihuahua has an artificial knee. So she's recovering, and she's got a bandage that goes from her tippy toes all the way up to her body, a whole leg cast. So if you ever tried to watch a dog, and it's straight because you can't bend it or put weight on it, and it's just sticking out there and she's hobbling on the other 3 legs. It's just hilarity, let me tell you, but I feel bad because I know it hurts.
Yeah.
So there's my life.
Well, awesome. I'm so glad that she came through the surgery okay.
Yeah.
For me, there's a lot to be excited about, but what I want to share with you guys is just how reaffirming it is to be back on track with a morning success routine that helps just bolster the emotional toll that this global pandemic can take on us. And the thing is, that was real important to me because I could feel my peace of mind slipping away. I was feeling the anxiety, I was feeling the pressure, and I didn't want to feel that way. So I recommitted to the 30-day transformational challenge from Miracle Morning, and the results have been phenomenal, guys. If you find yourself just kind of slipping, maybe forgetful, maybe not present, maybe worrying too much, the daily success routine, whatever that looks like for you, can help with that. I talk about this a lot because my daily routine helped change my life completely, especially in this business. I've shared it in my daily dues, and I just want to share with you guys that I've kind of eliminated the daily dues part, all the hustle, the grind for building the business. I've kind of completely backed off on that, and really just focusing on the principles that help me grow and become who I want to be in this world. Because in this business, there's no separation between you and your business. You are everything. So you have to put your oxygen mask on first. You have to make sure that you are whole, complete, at peace, and focus, so you can be of optimal service to your clients. So we're in a similar boat to that, I highly encourage you. You can just Google it. It's the 30-day challenge from Miracle Morning. It's helping me, just the 6 basic principles, and hopefully it'll help you guys too. All right, why don't we jump in and get started? I've been loving all the live questions that we have. So why don't we jump in there? Is there anybody, if you're participating on the call, thank you so much for being here, guys. First, let's just honor you for taking time out of a Tuesday to grow yourself and your business. If you have some burning questions that you would like to ask, you can just raise your hand. Gina Marie, thank you for jumping right in there. Why don't we just kick off with you, and then anybody else, just raise your hand, put it in the chat. We'll try to find it and just get my attention that way. All right, Gina Marie
Hello.
Saris. Hi.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I have a couple of questions. I'll try to make them quick. First one is regarding your notary stamp. Is it required to have your commission number on your stamp?
Gina Marie, you're in Arizona, right?
Yes.
So in Arizona, as of August of last year, it is a legal requirement to have your commission number on your stamp.
Okay, so what is going to happen with all the notary that I have been doing because my commission expires actually in September, and my employer is actually the one that renews my commission. So I didn't really think about it until I was asked about it yesterday, about what my commission number was and why it wasn't on my stamp. So what is that now? What's going on? What's going to happen with all the notaries that I've been doing?
Good question. Laura, have you heard any feedback on stamps that are not in compliance with the law? I mean, how big of a deal is it?
Well, it all depends on, does somebody notice? Is it a recordable document? Does the transaction go south, and is there a lawsuit as a result? It's a technicality. Frankly, it should still be a good notarization, and it shouldn't be rejected because of that technicality. Although, attorneys are good at using technicalities to throw something out. In terms of yourself, if it comes to the Secretary of State's attention, could have corrective action with you. I don't know what your Secretary of State would do, because I haven't looked at your guidelines and disciplinary actions. In California, if we were doing something incorrectly, it could mean suspension of commission. It could mean some kind of fine. So if nobody says anything, if there's no lawsuit, if nothing happens, then nothing happens, and they're going to be just fine. It's if something happens.
That's kind of the weird spot that we're in now. If I were in your shoes, Gina Marie, I would just get a new stamp.
That's what I think I'm going to go ahead and do.
Yeah, for $26, you can order it right from Phoenix Rubber Stamp Company too, right at 40th Street in McDowell. That way, I mean, they have a turnaround. So if it ever gets lost, stolen, or anything, you can have a new stamp in your hand in 3 hours or less. Highly recommend them.
Perfect. Okay, another question I have. Shadowing, is that legal in Arizona? So this is actually, I'm asking this for a friend who wasn't able to join us today. She is trying to get on with a signing company, and they're asking her to shadow in on a few, actually not just a few, 10 to 15 signings before they're going to allow her to do her signings on her own. What is your take on that?
Well, I'm sure we have a few different opinions here. Carol, do you want to kick off with this one?
Well, unfortunately, in today's world, it's really not allowed. You're not allowed to bring somebody with you. The CFPB is pretty, loud about this, that it does not protect the consumer's privacy. I suppose in some rare instances, if you were to call and ask if you could bring someone with you and get their permission, you might be able to do it. I don't recommend that at all myself. I think it's breaking that security breach between you and the signers. So I don't know
Okay.
what to tell you. We have students that are getting work right away without having to have experience or going out on signings. And another thing too, you don't know who they're going with. And if they're not properly trained and they don't do things like issue an oath, which Laura and Bill are very familiar with, that you'll hear it all the time. You go to a signing and you try to issue the oath or affirmation to them. You say, I've done this, 3 or 4 times and nobody's ever done this for me. You can go to the courthouse and not get, not be issued an oath and they'll back me up. I don't believe that you should do that. So,
Well, it's actually the signing company that is requesting
I can't believe it.
that
Yeah,
she participates in the shadowing there at their office before they give her any jobs, any assignments.
So let's talk about it real quick, because there's 2 different scenarios that could be happening too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So where Carol's going is going into somebody's home. Is that acceptable to bring a stranger along with you so they can sit and stare at the very private personal information that's in those documents? I don't think that's, number one, I don't think it's professional. And number 2, it does, I think, violate some of the privacy concerns. First, and the other thing is that a lot of times people are uncomfortable just with us coming to their home. That really makes some people uncomfortable. So to bring a tag along can create anxiety around anxiety and unprofessionalism around the transaction. But now there's a workaround there. And we do that a lot with our team here in Phoenix, is whenever you have a client that's at a title company, they will oftentimes, we'll work it out where the title company allows us to have an observer in the room that's already been criminally background checked, already certified as a loan signing agent. So they're there, they're part of the team, they're on it. And the borrowers are giving them permission as well. We'll come in, we'll introduce them, we'll say, we have an observer, is this okay with you? And all parties agree to it, then we're good to go. And you can get lots of experience observing like that. But those are really difficult to find, that type of arrangement or that type of client that's willing to do that. So I don't recommend making that a common practice. It's extremely valuable when you find it, but it's just going to be few and far between.
Okay.
And then if you have a signing company who's insistent and just says, look, this is just how we do things, and they work it out with their clients that it's okay to have observers, if you're getting dialed into a system, it might still end up being okay if all parties agree and everybody's on the same page. But to just go out, it's not necessary either. That's the exciting thing. It feels great to get that kind of observation. It feels great to have a mentor that takes you by the hand and shows you physically, but you don't have to have that kind of stuff to succeed in this business. If one signing company says you don't get signings until you observe 15 times, then go get 15 signings on her own through other signing companies, and then she can still get the same experience. And I love that Carol said, be careful who you watch, be careful who you get advice from, because we've seen it. Carol, Laura, and I, we talk about these nightmare stories we've had with notaries that refuse to fix errors, notaries that point and sign, they don't even briefly describe. those notaries are still out there mentoring others. So you're going to get some cross information. So make sure that whoever you get advice from has the results that you want. Laura, did you have
Okay.
anything to add on that?
I think you both covered it very well.
All right, awesome. Next question, Cassandra. Gina Marie, thank you so much. Great questions.
Thank you. Mhm.
Cassandra.
Good afternoon. Hi, good afternoon. How are you all?
Hey, good, Cassandra.
Good. I'm in Texas, and I've been a licensed realtor for over 15 years, and I'm under Liz Head, and you had a great Zoom, I must say, last Friday that I listened to your recording on. But I've this past month, the past 30 days in the wake of COVID-19 has really boosted my signings or whatnot. But my question to you is, what is your expert opinion per se on the market as it relates to these notary signings in the wake of rates increasing slightly, and in the wake of lending guidelines tightening up?
Yeah, good question. Carol, Laura, do any of you want to go first?
Go ahead, Carol. I'm answering something else.
Oh, okay.
I've been in this business for a very, very long time, and I'm seeing all indications that it is a go, go, go year. I think that the rest of the year is going to be amazing. I mean, everything is in place for it, and as unfortunate and horrible as this virus situation is, there's a lot of things on hold now, and I think that it's just going to break loose once that has been, once it's over with in our life. Hopefully that'll be soon. But yeah, I think we're looking at great things. I've seen these things go up and down since oh my God, how many years I've been in this business? 30 years probably. Yeah, about 30 years. So yeah, I think we're looking for a good year. I think everybody should be very positive.
And for me, so I tend to lean really optimistic anyway by nature, but I'm also really closely monitoring it because we don't know. And where I'm looking is what's happening on the secondary market, because what happens on the secondary market with the investors is probably going to trickle down to the consumer side too. So I'm really watching who's investing, who's buying loans, who's not buying loans. Right now, guys, I can tell you, I built my business on new home construction, and they are anticipating ridiculous volume for April and May alone. So unless something else massive strikes, I mean, we're moving at it feels like a ridiculous pace right now because we've got half the workforce. So we're working harder to fulfill our orders and get these signings done. But there's not been a decline in business at all. And we're being prepared for more volume. And Texas is huge. Texas, Florida, California, Arizona, Washington, Oregon, and everywhere. These states are still seeing strong volume. So cautiously optimistic.
Yeah,
Laura, what's that?
I should say I agree with both of you, and I think that what we should be more concerned with is that we're prepared, because what is likely to change is how we do our work rather than how much work. I think the workload's going to continue. I think that for those who are not ready for changes that are asked of us are the ones that are going to be left behind. And so I think preparedness and within your own business, making sure you have what you need, the tools that you need, the technology that you need, the knowledge that you need, so that as that workload builds, you're right there at the front of the line, not at the end of the line. I think that's what we need to be thinking about.
When you say, what are you specifically as far as the changes in adapting?
I think technology is going to play a huge role, whether it's RON, the remote online, or the IPEN, the in-person, electronic notarizations, the hybrids, and still the traditional, because not everybody can do, you know, the RON for whatever the reason is, they may not qualify. I think that more will be asked from the notary in terms of security, no matter what method is being utilized. I think more is already asked of us. When I started, they didn't really care if I knew anything about the documents. They just wanted to know that I was upright and breathing. Could I fog a mirror? That was the requirement. And today, you know, you got to take a class, and it's not just enough to take the class and get your certificate. You're actually expected to have some familiarity with the documents so that you can easily present them in a way that a signer who would not know the documents could easily understand in a phrase or two. And so we get ourselves certified, but do we really understand what it is I'm doing and what I'm saying at the table? So, and it could be also the management of your business as well. Do you have the technology so that you're tracking your business correctly? Are you collecting data about your business? Do you know what percentage of your business is purchase refi? Do you know what percentage is certain title companies? Who's giving you the work? Who's not giving you the work? What's your average signing amount that you're getting? Because there may be companies you work for that you shouldn't be working for because they're not cost effective for you. This analysis is what helps make sure that the work we take works for us instead of us, you know, working for minimum wage.
Makes sense. Thank
Did
you.
that help, Cassandra?
Oh, absolutely. And one last thing when she she just expounded on, again, this is within the last 30 days, I've gone full blown with it. And initially, this is the question in regards to loan modifications. And again, I'm in Texas and fairly new. So my, with the loan modifications, they've come over for me at $30, $40. Is that typical? I understand it's a much smaller package, but is that a typical price per se, so to speak?
It's hard to say what's typical. It certainly feels on the low side.
Right.
There would be, I don't see
How do you
anything
get it
less
back
than
to the
50
screen?
being justified on that.
Zoom.
Guys, if you would please leave yourself on mute until you're called upon, I'd really appreciate that. I totally forgot your question, Cassandra.
About those loan mods and
Oh, the loan
Loan
modifications.
mods.
Yeah, look, so for me, like, I'm in a different situation, but hopefully maybe somebody can tap some chats in here about what kind of fees you're getting for the loan modifications. But I very rarely will take anything less than $100 these days. And I think 80 or 90 is probably a little more than most companies are willing to pay for those. 50 to, I've seen some at $65. I've seen some at $75 for a loan modification, but those are lower, but sometimes they take as much time as a full signing. Sometimes they take an hour because people want to read it, they want to understand it. So to me, it's a time thing. So $30 definitely on the low side. However, you know how I feel about pricing, right? Everybody gets to make the best choice for them in their moment with their circumstances at that time.
Makes sense.
Oh, there's one. T. Clark did one for 33 pages for $85. There you go. That's kind of the range I would want to be on those loan modifications.
Right, me too. Thank you.
All right, you got it. Guillermo. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Rosalind's first. Thanks, Cassandra.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can. How's it going, Rosalind?
Oh, new headset with microphone. That's why I asked. I wanted to make sure it worked.
It's working.
Actually, that's all I wanted to do.
That was it.
Make sure it worked.
All right.
Yeah.
Testing.
Yeah, testing. Thank you.
Confirmed, Jared. You're welcome. Gina, would you like to unmute and ask your question? Hey, Gina.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
No, Gina, I'm sorry. You've got too low a bandwidth. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now?
No.
Type it in.
Yeah, if you type it in, maybe we can help. So we'll come back to you though.
Thank you.
Dana Keller.
Carol and I got a couple of questions. They're probably real quick answers. Uh, First off, I ran into this situation. It's not really a problem. It's a situation, kind of caught me off guard. And I've wondered how each of you have handled this. Went out on a couple of notaries this week, and the people insisted on paying me more than what they were required to pay me. I felt a little trouble taking it, but I took it. I went home, I struggled with it ethically, but I'm just wondering if any of you have run into that situation and how you've kind of addressed it.
Great question. So you're saying we're talking more like general notary work appointments, right?
Correct.
Okay, on general notary work. Laura, how do you handle that? Let's call it gratuity or tipping.
I do let them know that the fee I quoted was perfectly fine, and I felt fair. And if they insist, I thank them very much for their generosity, and I move it over to my travel fee. Because, you know, we can do travel in California, so I have a place to stick it.
And for me, I would say on the majority of my general notary work appointments, I do get some form of gratuity or tip, and it is usually very, very generous. And at first, I was really turned off by that, embarrassed. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to violate the law. I didn't want them, you know, it was really uncomfortable. But people, especially when you're showing up to somebody's deathbed, or if you're showing up to somebody's house and they're terrified that they're about to pass away, and they're scrambling to get all their paperwork together, or maybe it's at midnight because he just got off of work at 11 o'clock and you go out of your way to be of service. They feel compelled to take care of you. So I've learned to just be gracious in that and just accept it. I mean, they'll stuff it in your pocket sometimes. I've been like accosted in a hospital as he's stuffing $100 bill into my shirt pocket because he just wanted, that's how he wanted to say, thank you and I appreciate you. So, and I don't know of any states that have rules or laws against it, Laura. Do you know of anything? Have you heard anything? Carol, have you heard anything like this?
In California, actually, if all you're doing is notarizing a document and you don't have some other fee that you can put it under, you're not supposed to take money more than the maximum allowed for that notarization. That's really how it is. But if you are providing other services, then you could just move it into the other services. You know, that's assuming you're claiming it.
Right. That's another assumption as well. Exactly. Excellent. Great question.
All right. I have one other question, and I'm kind of embarrassed. I'm kind of embarrassed to ask this question, but in one of the two situations that I just outlined here, I got so flustered with the addition of the tip, I almost forgot to have the person sign my notary journal. I drove down the street and realized, oh my God, they didn't sign my journal, and I went back and had them sign it. But I started thinking, what happens if it's a situation where I forgot to have them sign the journal and I can't get back to them?
You know, Laura kind of touched on this a little earlier, you know, with so many, well, and which is why there's so many bad habits in our notary world, because this stuff is never an issue until it becomes an issue. So nobody's checking your journal. Like, you know, some states randomly audit journals and stuff, but nobody's going in and QCing your work and making sure that's all there. It's only a problem if 3 years down the road, you get a court order that says, show us the line in this notary journal, then it's an issue. Aside from that, it's just not an issue. So you'd want to make some notes in your journal, just noting what happened and the different efforts that you took to try to contact and replace that. Carol, any other advice that you would offer in a situation like that, or even Laura?
Well, I've actually had students call and say, I left their house, I forgot to get them to sign. I say, if you're close enough, go back and get it. Otherwise, you're going to have to drive out there at some point, get it signed. But I just thought of something. What if we were to advise our students to put on their computer a big question mark print it out, you know, big, huge question mark, journal. At the end of the package, they couldn't possibly leave the house without getting that journal signed. Because I'm going to do that because I've had that happen to my students so often. I think that's what we're going to do. I'm going to advise my students to do that. Big question mark, the word journal.
Hmm?
So you know
What
what
do you
I
think of
ended up
that?
doing? You know what I ended up doing? I have a special little case that I carry my my seal in and a couple of other stamps that I've had made up for special situations. And in the inside of the lid, when I open it up in big bold letters, it says, "Don't forget to sign the journal."
That's good.
And
Yeah,
that's
I think any kind of a reminder like that is a good. My daughter just crawled on the floor. She didn't want to be. I'm sorry, it was kind of funny. But yeah, I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to start adding that to all the long list of things that they can do
Not a bad
to
idea.
keep them from doing that.
Dana, any other questions?
I'm sorry, I'm having a wonderful time today.
No, that's good.
I have some more questions, Bill, but you know what? I'll leave them till the next TNT. I don't want to take up all the time.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Dana. All right, let's ask this question so people in the chat window can either start talking about it or stop talking about it. HireNotary.com. Good or just another spam?
I've got a call in to Kim, the CEO. Just did it this morning.
To HireNotary.com?
She's reached out to some of my graduates.
Great.
And I want to know who they are too. They're guaranteeing $150 a signing. Nothing's coming out of it.
Oh, okay.
Guys,
I
want to see what they're all about.
Luckily, this is an amazing community that really shares a lot of this information. If you're getting solicited to sign up for directories, there's a good chance that it's not as legit as we might hope. And if it sounds too good to be true, then it definitely is. The general rule for this stuff on directories is there's really, right now we're 3 main directories and we're adding a 4. Notary Stars just started coming in and we've been hearing great reviews from them too. So we've got 1, 2, 3 Notary, Notary Cafe, Notary Rotary, and Notary Stars. Those are the 3 directories that if you were going to, or 4 directories, that if you were going to sign up, they have free profile directories on most of them. And then they'll have a way to pay a premium for a premium listing. And the word across the country from other notaries is that you will at least make your money back on those preferred or upgraded profiles. You don't have to, but you certainly can. So if you're getting emails from companies like USA Signing Agent or Hire Notary, and nobody's in the forums have any feedback on them, or they're not responding, or they're not getting business, then you know you don't have to pay for those types of directories. Also, there is Carrie Rivera's community, the notaryreviews.org. That's a strong community where they share information about all these different companies, and then she compiles a list, so you always have access to that. So you can check that out at notaryreviews.org. Anything else?
Hey, Bill.
Oh, hey, Joseph.
Hi. Hey, one more time with those 4, the 4 listings.
Sure, I'll type them into the chat window. So I'll just type them in the chat window. We already have a request for that. Okay, Joseph?
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Actually, Randy?
Yes. Yes.
I'll remember. All right. Thank you, Gina. Great question. Arlene Vincent, you want to go ahead and unmute and ask your question?
Yes, how are you?
Excellent. How you doing?
I have, okay, and yourself? I have been pretty busy with the, what I call the drive-by notary, where I'm keeping that distance away, but I'm still having a very hard time. I've gotten appointed by the state. I've got my seals. I got $100,000 E&O insurance. I got my bond, but I have a problem with being sworn in with the city under this COVID-19. So my question is, can another notary swear me in and I mail in my bond?
Arlene, is it Illinois or Indiana? Where are you?
Pennsylvania.
I was so close. Pennsylvania.
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, yeah.
All right, in Pennsylvania. Laura, have you heard anything about Pennsylvania and what their workaround is for this situation? I know you just, you did a blog about this, I think last week. Can you help Arlene out here? Laura?
Please.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I stay
She doesn't
muted.
even-
I follow the rules. I'm a rule follower. And I was muted.
The one
Okay.
person, the two people that can be unmuted and she mutes herself. That's how she's so strict on rules. I love it.
My God.
All right.
So most states allow for a mail-in process, but you still have to take your oath with a notary. So if there's another notary that you can take your oath with and then mail in that paperwork, there should be a certificate for them to fill out. So in your instruction,
I don't know if anybody have that in Pennsylvania. There's quite a few notaries I can find, but even to be sworn in, they don't even know what exact language that they need to use in order for me to be sworn in with the city.
That's not in your package?
No.
So
again,
you
I'm
got a package
in Pennsylvania.
and so you got communication that said what to do, but they did not give you an alternate plan?
No, they did not.
No,
I'm not even sure if they accepted mail because I could FedEx the package.
Well, can you communicate with them at all through phone or email?
Nope. I have sent, I went so far as Governor Wolf has gotten at least 14 emails from me, not to mention the city of Philadelphia. I have not got any communication from anyone, and it's pretty frustrating because my current commission expires on the 23rd. So I have like 10 days or less to get my new license, and it's frustrating because I've been going through this for over 30 days now.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I wish I had an answer. Those would have been my alternatives.
Hey, Bill, this is Ellen. Hello.
Hi, Ellen.
Hi, how are you? I just want to respond to that. I'm in Pennsylvania, and I'm pretty sure, I'm almost positive, that I've read on the Pennsylvania Association of Notaries Facebook page that, yes, another notary can swear you in. You should really contact the Pennsylvania Association of Notaries. They are responding to calls and on their Facebook, and definitely ask them this question about the language. They can absolutely help you out.
Excellent advice.
I truly appreciate that because that's the only solid advice that I have gotten throughout this whole thing. And it's frustrating because right now I'm busy and I don't want to use my score, my reputation. I don't want to use any of my business as we go through this.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's important. That integrity piece is critical to what the role that we serve. So you want to make sure that you're doing things the right way. I love that you're committed to that. The other thing is too, in Washington, it says that you can go to UPS stores to be sworn in. They might have more experience because they see more notarizations. That might be a backup plan to the Philadelphia or Pennsylvania Association of Realtors. Thank you for that, Ellen. Thank you for the great question, Arlene.
Okay, you are.
I'm sorry, I just want to say something before we walk away from this.
Yeah.
It says that, and I am looking at the notary primer for Pennsylvania, just so you know, I have a primer for all the states. And on the oath, it says the oath appears on page 2 of the notary bond that is mailed from the Secretary of the Commonwealth once your appointment and application have been approved. So have you looked at page 2 of your bond? That's where the oath is.
Ah.
That's what I'm telling you. There's your language.
Yeah, it's funny. Arizona does that exact same thing.
Thank you so
the oath is right there on the bond.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I appreciate that. Thanks again.
All right.
Guys.
No problem, Arlene. Thank you. All right. Mike Howard, how are you? Want to unmute and ask your question?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. So my question is really Arizona specific, but I was excited when we found out that I could do Ron as of April 10th. But then as I was going through it, I found out that I can't charge anything more than what a regular notarization. I was wondering if anybody's heard anything about that, or how it is in other states, if it's a different fee that you can charge, or any advice for that.
Yeah, so it's kind of similar in other states. That, like Texas, though, they have like a special fee. You can charge $25 plus your per notarization fee. So in Arizona, yeah, it's not overly exciting quite yet, and it's kind of a cluster, as I'm sure you're discovering as you're going through. They were not prepared to even launch on July 1st, and now they've crammed it up, and they've launched as of last Friday that Ron is legal. So there are I haven't even looked at the fees, Mike, on that. So but I'll be going through this right along with you all, so I'll share my journey and what we can do as well. Laura, have you heard anything on Arizona and this Ron thing with fees and stuff?
No, I didn't hear anything with the.
Bill, I can speak to that.
Hey, Rhonda.
What's that?
I can speak to that. Is that me making?
Hold on one second. I'm going to mute everybody, guys. I'm so sorry, but you guys have to keep yourself on mute until you're called upon. Rhonda, there you go. I'm going to unmute you. There you go. Hey, Rhonda. Are you there?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can. Thank you.
All right, so I do have some insight to that for Mike. I have an email from Kate.
Hold on. Rhonda, I'm sorry. Let me, I'm going to have to remove them completely, I guess. Okay.
So I have an email from the Secretary of State. I did specifically ask if we could charge our $10 notarization fee plus a fee that would cover the platform charges. I used the example of SignIX, which charges $10 for notarization. So I asked if we could bill the customer our $10 plus the $10 to cover the platform for a total of $20. And the Secretary of State replied to me, I'm happy to share that email with anybody, that no, I cannot incorporate the platform charges into my billing. So I would eat that platform charge and basically make no money. We are assuming all the same risks and at this point, no rewards, because the platforms are so very expensive at this point.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So you basically negate your entire cost, and you'll end up eating more too, because sometimes you have to pay the subscription fee either. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Laura, I saw you unmute. You have something on that?
Well, what I was going to say is I've read all the emergency orders, and none of them allowed for any additional fees to be charged. So you're charging the same amount you would have charged for paper, and yes, there's a technology fee that's eating up that. So I know there was a lot of notaries who are like, Ron, I want to be Ron, I want to be Ron. But if your state had not already taken care of a bill like Texas did, where there is a fee, a technology fee that can be added. If it was a well thought out bill that was passed, there's probably going to be incorporated a technology fee. If it was an emergency order, hey, we just got to help people get things notarized, there's nada for you.
Yeah, that's a really good point. There are some states that were really prepared for this and have it all thought out. They're already legal. And then the emergency orders, that's why I'm not feeling too excited, guys. I know what happens when you try to ram something through really fast. It's going to no matter what the governors tell you, no matter what the legislatures tell you, no matter what laws come in, when things don't go right, the buck stops here. It starts with you. You are going to be responsible. If the technology isn't right, if you didn't follow procedure, if it was the law was written so vague, or the order was written so vague that it didn't add clarity, it's all going to come back to you. So the question that we often hear is, does it make sense to jump onto Ron right now? And it's going to be a very personal decision for you, but there's major factors to take into consideration. Number one, the expense. Becoming a remote online notary is going to cost money. It's like starting up another leg of your business, another division of your business. You're going to need a platform. You're going to need your seals. You're going to need all kinds of stuff. Plus, you're going to have to start tweaking your online presence so people can find you to even do a notarization. You're going to have to look at search engine optimization a little bit more and all that kind of stuff. And then loan signings and RON platforms is a lot different than GNW right now. It's like the whole system is really geared towards GNW. The loan signings is really still a pain in the rear end in a lot of these states and a lot of these platforms. Laura, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say is really the NSA work is what's going to drive the RON. That is what's going to drive it. It's the lenders that want this done. They're the ones that are going to be pushing all of this. The thing is that the emergency orders came through because of that push. That's where it's coming from, because loans can't get completed. So when we do a loan package, let's just say it's $100. That's easy for me number to work with. But now you're not printing documents. You want to look at your offsets. So now in RON, I'm paying for a technology fee, but I'm not traveling and I'm not printing and I'm not using my ink. There's a lot of costs that no longer are part of my hard costs. So what we need to evaluate is, what is that? How much is my hard cost versus this other hard cost that's called the technology fee? And where am I going to get the work? The work for the RON is going to come from the title companies to you, just like you get other things, signature closers, any signing companies that are hooked up with that, Amrock, all of those. That's where the work's going to come from. And they're going to say, hey, we want you to use this is the platform we're connected with. That's what you're going to use. And you're going to get your check like you normally do. The general notary work, I think, for emergency purposes is why it looks that way right now, but that's not really what's driving it. When we're not in an emergency anymore, it's going to take a lot longer, I think, for that general notary work to pick up on the electronic notarization. So that's what I want to say.
Yeah, great.
I have a thought to add. A lot of my students are asking questions about RON, and I'm getting some answers back, which is really helpful for me. There's a big difference between what these providers, these platforms are charging. And I know that there's a couple of them that are charging really more than we could charge as an individual. What we end up with is in the hole. We're having to pay to do the notarizations, which negates anything that's positive about it for us, other than helping people by doing it online. But as far as making an income from it, it's going to be really tough.
Agreed. So you got to really make the analysis and make sure that it makes sense for you and your state. The other huge consideration, guys, is the time frame of your emergency order. I think we're on the same page with Laura and Carol that they'll probably try to extend the emergency orders and just start incorporating RON after all this. But right now, if you've got a 30-day temporary order, it may not make sense, especially if you can't make any money on it, to invest $200, $300, $400 into getting started and then have it just terminate at the end of 30 days. I'm encouraging all to just do the decision that makes the most sense for you. Awesome
Betty
question.
just posted what she put out. Is she on here where she can talk? Betty,
are you asking for
there?
Betty, Carol?
Yes.
I'm wondering if that's a typo, because I did doc verify and it was no $680. So I'm wondering if that's a typo on our typing, because even Tao,
no, that's what I've been hearing.
Tao is saying 150, and that is what I paid.
Oh, so Betty says
There's
it's
100 for the setup fee and another 50, and I paid 150, and then you buy credits, and that's exactly what I had to do. So I don't know where that 680 comes from. I'd be surprised. I don't know. Maybe she paid 680 because she went with the enterprise. I mean, there's different tiers or levels.
Gotcha.
But just to be a notary, 150 was really the only investment that I had to make. And I did zero work for that 150. And I probably bought about 30 to 60 credits because I was playing. I was practicing and trying to see how it worked. And frankly, I call them Doc Terrify. I'm not happy with them, and I let it go with my last commission, and I'll be using a different one when I am able to use a platform. And remember, I do things because I am out in the front and people are looking to me for answers, and it's hard for me to give you answers if I'm not out there trying to do it myself first, so I can, you know, help you through it. But what I wanted to add is, somebody asked it and I let it go by. If you want just an easy overall Ron training, there is an online one. It's 2 hours. NNA has it. It's $29 and it's non-state specific. And it, from front end to back end, just gives you that whole overview, how to walk through it, what happens, what it looks like. And then they walk you through front to back end at the end. I just completed it last week myself to see what it was, because some of their training's pretty darn good and some of it isn't always so great. But I thought it was really straightforward and helpful. I don't know who else is doing just an online run like that, but get education. Where it doesn't have to be the NNA, whoever you get it from. I'm just saying I took it, it's there, it's inexpensive. So I wanted to make that announcement, but wherever you go to get it, just go get it so you know what's going on.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I know it's frustrating too, that there's not like a central hub or source for training right now for remote online notarization. Trust me, I've been trying to build something, and we've got some stuff in the works. And now that Arizona has legalized it, at least temporary, it gives me a lot more access to stuff. But the reason for that is that every state is different. And so all the state laws are different. You're used to hearing that. But on top of that, we have this other element. We have all the platforms that are involved in this, and they're all different. And then you have to get your training from them basically on how to use their platform. And then their customer service, quite frankly, guys, it's going to suck just to set you up. I haven't heard anybody except for SignIX. I've heard great things about them and their customer service and support. The rest of them they're probably super overwhelmed right now. So they're really delayed, and most of the time they're not even responding. They're not even answering emails. They're not answering phones and stuff. So we kind of have to figure this out on our own. Just know that I think between Laura, Carol, and I, we'll have something for you as this starts unrolling and we can all participate in it. Mike, did that answer your question? Somewhere in there?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking. Marsha Morris, thanks for waiting. Would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Hi.
Hey, Marsha.
My question is, so I just recently bought the stamp that says "See Attached Certificate." Previously, I would write it in and then I would initial it. Do I still need to initial, or is that not even a requirement?
Marsha, I'm so sorry. I missed the question. It garbled
Oh,
up.
the question is, if the certificate is not California compliant and I'm wanting to attach a loose leaf, so I bought a stamp that now says "See Attached to Certificate," and previously I used to write it and then initial my statement. Do I need to initial my statement? Is that something I was doing and I didn't really need to do it?
Great question. Carol, what's your opinion on this? She's just got a rubber stamp. Does she need to initial it?
I don't think so. Not in that case. I think that's pretty clear what you're doing. That stamp is a good idea.
I have had, I agree with that. And I've had some escrow officers that tell me anytime that we manually write something or manually make a change in ink that we should initial it. So I think you were doing the right thing by initialing your handwriting, but for your stamp, you're probably fine. Laura, do you have any other opinion contrary to that?
You're on mute, Laura.
I think she's muted. Following the rules again.
Let me try again. You know, I think my husband would love it if he could just mute me like this. So what I would tell you,
my Bill is laughing.
So what I would say is this, is that think about the reason why we initial something we do on a paper. If I have a stamp that says "See Attached Certificate," it is obvious, but I like to personally initial it. It's not required. I call it just standard of care, that anytime I strike or I add or I do anything to a document that isn't mine, that I take ownership of that. And that's how I'm able to do it. So not required at all, but I personally, that is my standard of care.
Okay, thank you.
So, great question. Thanks, Marcia. Kathy with a K, would you like to ask your question? Kathy with a K, unmute. Kathy going once, twice. Randy, we'll move on to you. Kathy, we can come back to you later. Randy, thanks for waiting.
Hey guys. So I just wanted to touch again on the remote online thing. I wanted to say thank you to Laura for mentioning the Doc Verify thing, because that was one of the ones I was looking at, and trying to make heads or tails out of all of this confusing stuff. But also I wanted to give a word of comfort out there. I work also in customer service where I answer calls for well, basically, I deal with technology also in another realm, let's just say, and I have a lot of people that I talk to that say, I don't know how to turn on a computer, as if it's a badge of honor. So there is going to be tons of things out there that cannot be done remote online, where I don't think the wet signings are ever going to go away completely, because there's tons of people that just don't want to be on a computer.
That's so true, Randy. Thank you for bringing that up, because not everybody is a good candidate for remote online notarization. Guys, we see it. Zoom calls are off the charts right now, and you can see it. People trying to find the mute button, trying to find the link, trying to make it work. Imagine having to jump through hoops, answer 3 questions in 2 minutes about your life 10 or 15 years ago, what street, what car color you had, which loan company is associated with your Toyota in 1980s. That's really can be a challenge. It's not.
And it's timed.
What's that?
It's timed.
Oh yeah, it's timed.
Yeah, it's a timed thing, and if you don't get it right, you're out.
Yeah.
You're disqualified, and now you got to go back and do a traditional. And I just want to add, Bill, to what you're saying, and Randy, what you're saying is there are many reasons why somebody is disqualified from even being able to use Ron. So if they don't have credit because they're 18, they don't have credit history, they don't have public information yet, they're not a candidate for Ron. They've moved here from another country out of the United States, and now they're here. They're not going to have information either that's public, so they're out for Ron. There are quite a few reasons why they're not a good candidate for Ron. So how are they going to be taken care of? By us, the ones that do it the traditional. You know how they had Coke Classic? It's Notary Classic.
Yeah, classic.
And the other thing that we need to consider is something that we've talked about, that I've certainly talked about, because most of my students are in their 50s, 60s. We're at baby boomer age, war babies. We're kind of ruling the country, and we don't know what we're doing. It's a good thing I have 2 daughters who are geeks, because I'm like, help! I'm lucky to turn on the coffee maker.
Yeah.
Love it. So true.
That's going to keep us safe for at least 10 years.
So I wonder if there's going to be another boomer age here, 2020.
Yeah, they're calling them oh, they have a name already. They're quarantine babies. Or something.
Quarantine babies, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, great. Something else.
What is it?
Remember.
What did they call them?
Coronials. Yeah, that's it, Jim. They're coronials.
Coronial. Oh my God.
Oh boy. All right, we got 2 more questions. Beth Haffett, thanks for joining us. Unmute and ask away.
Hello, Mr. Bill. Carolyn.
Hi, Dad.
There she is.
I just wanted to make a comment about Arizona's Ron emergency order.
Yeah.
It's going to be totally unuseful for us as notaries in reference to general notary work, maybe with our lenders and our loan documents that we're doing. But not only can we not pass on those Ron platform fees in general notary work, the Secretary of State has an ARS that says they are still requiring personal appearance. So what that looks like is your general notary work client is uploading their document to the platform you tell them to.
Mhm.
And then you're taking a laptop or a tablet and meeting them someplace
Mhm.
and completing the e-notarization. Well, that kind of defeats the whole purpose
The
anyway.
entire
So,
purpose.
Yeah, that's an IPEN.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar with that acronym, an IPEN is in-person electronic notarization.
yep. So it's not helpful to us at all unless we're NSAs in Arizona.
Unless we're in a what?
Unless we are an NSA and we're doing loan signings through a platform through the lender or the title company.
Beth, why is the notarization for a loan signing different than a notarization for a general notary work? How is that a workaround?
Yeah, I do not know.
That doesn't
But
make any
there
sense.
are two initiatives. They have RON initiative and e-notarization. And e-notarization is specifically for general notary.
Oh, this is going to be an adventure, guys. Thanks for the heads up, Beth.
Yeah.
I got my work cut out for me too. All right. Thanks, Beth. I'm glad you jumped on that. Deb.
Can I say something?
Of course.
Okay, good. Only because Beth got on here. We've created a kind of a group and a happening. It's on the second Thursday of every month. We're doing prime time notaries, and it's kind of aimed at the older notaries. I mean, people that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, forced into retirement, let go from companies, and have come into this world of the notary. And we have this wonderful meeting that we do on Zoom. If anybody's interested, they can write to me and get information. It's notary2pro@gmail.com. But it's a fun place to be, and we get a lot of information.
Awesome. Yeah. I've heard you're really gaining some steam over there on that. So congratulations. Guys, we have one more question, and it's from Galaxy J7 Star. Love your name. Galaxy J7 Star. This is your time. Unmute and ask.
Hi, this is Kathy Burks. How are you,
Hey,
Bill?
Kathy. Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Okay, so I was ready to launch, have all my supplies, and then the coronavirus. So I have not stepped out. So I just want to know, get some pointers on people when you're saying business is thriving. What are you doing to stay safe?
Great question. And luckily, if you listen to the last 2 weeks TNT as well, we've got some great feedback and more participation from some notaries as well that will go into that. But let's talk about it. Carol, do you mind kind of starting off? What are you hearing? What are notaries doing right now from the very basic level just to keep themselves and their signers safe?
Well, basically, they're wearing gloves. They're doing closings, hopefully within 6 feet of the people. I'm suggesting that they don't even go into the houses. There is a way of doing these, what I think is ridiculous, these curbside, where they're having them put the documents on the porch. They're sitting in their car. People are taking the documents, signing them in their house. That's breaking every law that we know of as notaries. First of all, the laws say that we must watch the people sign the documents. We must not just look at the driver's license or whatever they're providing through the window. You can put that in a plastic bag and observe what you need to observe, but it's as long as you hold it, look at it, touch it, hold it up to the light, whatever. They have to observe you, the signers have to observe you signing and stamping your notary acknowledgements. So I've kind of come up with a plan of how they can actually implement that, make it safe, make it legal, make it fairly simple for them to do, and to still not have personal contact with people. They need to take precautions. We have not stepped out of our house except to run to go pick up a couple of things. My husband, but I haven't been out of the house for 3 weeks myself. and most of our students are laying low.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. And then I'll expand a little bit on what I've heard too. So most loan signing agent or most notaries, just call it NSAs, are wearing masks. They're wearing rubber gloves. They are giving away pens rather than taking them back. So if you are asking the signers to have their own pens, Ken, you just want to make sure that you're got the blue ink thing covered as well. And many are having outdoor signings. And for me, if I was in that situation to do those, I would definitely want to take control of that. I love taking control of my services. That's why I would take clipboards and things like that. So for me, and what many of the notaries are doing is taking their own folding tables and chairs.
Oh,
So they have those, they're sanitized. And the one thing that you want to remember, this is critical, is sanitize after every single appointment and before every single appointment. Don't pull the, I was just at a grocery store and they were sanitizing the carts once and then just telling everybody, don't worry about it, those are sanitized. We don't want to fall into that trap. It needs to be sanitized after every single appointment. It's going to take more time. Allow yourself more time, more cushion for that. The other thing that you really have to be sensitive to, right, is no matter what our own personal opinion is about what's happening, we are public servants. So it is our responsibility to step up to the level of service that the customer is expecting. So even if you think, oh, this is no big deal, they're blowing it out of proportion, or I'm out here to work, consider all of your PPE, your personal protection equipment, consider that your costume for the day. Whatever you got to do to step up and be of service to that customer, to make them feel comfortable, to make them feel safe, and to keep yourself and your family safe, that's worth doing. So definitely do that stuff. And to speak to what Carol was saying, if you can't do your job in integrity with the law, then don't do it at all. If anything comes back, it's going to come back to you. It's not going to come back to the governors. It's not going to come back to the legislature, the president, nobody. It's going to come down to the notary that performed the duty and did it incorrectly and did not observe the driver's license or didn't witness the signatures. Remember, all the people who are out that want to take advantage of other people are going to be attracted to this situation. They're going to be attracted to loosened rules and guidelines. You don't want to be a pawn in their game. All right, guys.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much. Carol, thank you so much again for joining us, carving out the time. Laura from CoachMeLaura.com, Carol from NotaryToPro.com. Thank you so much for everything that you do. Guys, we'll see you next week. Thanks for growing yourself and your business on a Tuesday. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.